Thursday evening, I had the great honor of presenting an award to this gentleman for his active role in speaking up in our community against suicide, youth mental health, and bullying. He was honored with the United Way of Ottawa's Speak Up Award, and he received a wild standing ovation for his courage. And I think he'll talk about that today, his experience, but I certainly want to welcome him to our committee. He's been a keen advisor to myself and other members of this committee. I want to say thank you for his courage, what he's about to tell us.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you very much for being here this morning to make a presentation. As with previous delegations, you have 15 minutes to make your presentation. You can use any or all of that 15 minutes in your presentation. If there's any time left over at the end of the presentation, questions and the third party. So with that, the floor is yours for the next 15 minutes. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you all very much for this opportunity to speak to Bill 13 and 14. On October 15th last year, my family suffered a tragedy that was preventable. Our 15-year-old boy committed suicide because he said he couldn't take another year of high school and had lost faith that life would get better. For the world to read, Jamie blogged about his spiral into the depths of depression while struggling with his sexuality and bullying. He identified bullying as a major factor in his depression, and at the end of it, he said, relentless verbal abuse had left him feeling, to use his own words, he was broken. We teach our kids that athletics is good for us, and if they achieve exceptional results, they may one day proudly represent our country. Jamie believed in that message, but he was picked on at school from an early age because he was the championship figure skater. He had placed in the top 10 in Ontario and spent time with Canada's Olympic coaches. He had a promising future that one day he may represent his country on the world stage, but now all we can do is wonder what may have been. Jamie loved to sing and perform because he said it made people happy. From a young age, he would love to talk to seniors, younger children, and anyone that he thought he could make smile. It was the treasure he sought in life. And those that knew him loved him for it. But it also made him a target for those who get away with the only form of abuse that we do not have penalties for currently. In fact, the bullies who hunted Jamie and took my boy from him will likely go on to attack other young people and damage more lives while we discuss whether we want to address bullying seriously and do we want to protect all children. Jamie wanted to start a club in his high school. He made posters and placed them in the school, but they were torn down. Jamie believed that all kids should be able to join a club, whether they were tall, short, have freckles, an accent, a disability, or a different color scheme. Maybe they would be thin or like his dad, which for the record today, please refer to as being built like a teddy bear. One of the items in Bill 13 that I like is support for student-led initiatives. However, I feel the proposed language in the bill needs to be modified. I respectfully request that no groups be given special status by being named. To do so will only suggest certain children are more important than others, and I do not support that notion. I am here today to ask you to protect every child equally. I believe every family wants to know that when their child goes to school, they will be protected equally. Most of the kids I described above would not be protected by Bill 13, but they would be by Bill 14. By suggesting each club must be specifically named, such as any name, we are dealing with the issue of bullying in a way that is sure to fail. Jamie was the only openly gay person in a school of over 1,000 students. Jamie had the love and support of his family and friends and still found this to be a challenge. At GSA with one member, or even a few, would only have made him more of a target. I have to ask you, how many people publicly announce their sexuality before they are out of school and established in their lives? Why then would we be considering forcing them to do so at an age when they already If Bill 13 is implemented without changes, you could have a child going to his GSA meeting at 3:30, then leaving that meeting early so they can get to their Weight Watchers Club, and oh wait, it's Tuesday, maybe skip that meeting and go to the kids with red hair meeting. It's important that all of the kids go to one group to learn to respect each other and understand the differences. That is how we will build a better society. Not one of the groups would, if we separate them out, would learn that. They wouldn't learn anything about each other, but instead they could be fighting for precious resources. Hopefully you can see the wisdom that my son and his friends had when they were planning their club. They wanted all kids to see that they belonged to their club, so that each would learn about the other and learn to respect each other as different. The idea came from a Glee Club episode and was mentioned in Jamie's last note to the world when he asked to be remembered as a unicorn. Different on the outside, but beautiful on the inside. This kind of club would provide safety in numbers from the bullying. And when talking about clubs with Jamie, he told me adults like to label everything, kids don't. He didn't want to see all these different groups. I believe we can't say only the teachers have to solve this problem. Rather, I believe it's the whole community coming together that we can have hope for a better day. And only our youth being part of the solution through measures such as this club I described can we truly believe that another child will not be broken and give up hope that we all care. Many statistics have been thrown around in this discussion, but the reality is without the reporting mechanisms outlined in Bill 14, we do not know how many cases of bullying actually occur. Even with the goodwill of all parties, we do not know where to focus scarce resources because we don't have the common denominator or trends. We cannot defeat an enemy we can't clearly identify. Jamie used to wake up in a cold sweat and scream that people wanted to kill him. And I would have to run to him and assure him he was safe. I didn't know the demons he was dealing with would eventually win. I do know that you have the ability to deal with the nightmares of other families, but you must act quickly so that you don't end up like me, wondering what more you could do to save the child. From the start of this process last November, I have publicly stated that I support both bills as a very good first step. While I have friends within all parties, I have never supported one bill over the other in getting this much-needed protection for our children. I have only encouraged the merger of both because I believe all kids need our love and protection. By modifying and combining the two bills, we gain a much stronger piece of legislation, and by all parties supporting the joint effort, you have the opportunity to send a clear message to all kids that adults can learn to play nice too. You've been given the opportunity to protect all children. Please do not let anyone convince you to only protect a few. Thank you for your consideration of my comments, and I'll do my best to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. And now we'll go to the third party. You have about 4 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and my colleague may want to share time with me on this. Mr. Hubely, it's good to see you again. You took the time to speak with me in Toronto a few months ago, and again, I'm impressed with your composure and your ability to present very clearly the difficulties that your son faced in his time at school. You have told us before, and I would appreciate it if you would touch on it again, the fact that your son was bullied really at a much earlier age than high school. He was bullied because he didn't see the fault in the male stereotype behavior. Could you speak a bit about his experience?
I did in my presentation mention that he was a figure skater from 5 years old. obviously a lot of other kids in this class were hockey players, and there's an ongoing rivalry between the two groups that seems to have made him a target. He would also, as I mentioned, sing to people, love to entertain people any way he could, because he would get so happy if he made someone smile and thought that was what he should do with life. So that made him a target, because he would go to the child that was being picked on or beat up and be their friend. He would go to the person that broke their ankle or whatever and spend time with them. It was just, we were blessed. That was the way he saw himself in his role. So, was it a stereotype? I don't know if I want to say that. He was just, he was our gift. God.
And I understand that he put out posters for his club, the Rainbow Club, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was called the Rainbow Club, like all the children under the rainbow. Jamie loved rainbows, he loved tornadoes, he loved hurricanes, he loved anything Mother Nature could do. And that's where the name came from. He also believed that he had, within a few months before he passed, he had come out as an openly gay individual. But the club was not to be just for gay people. As I mentioned in my speech, he was the only openly gay student in the school. He knew that we had those discussions. That would only make him more of a target if it was just a GSA. He wanted a club that every child could go to. Many of the kids that I mentioned there, for example, people with freckles, with different colored hair, things like that, they're not protected under the Human Rights Charter. They're not, as the previous presenter said, one of the minorities. They're just not. There's something, from what I read of studies of bullies, they look for what makes you separate from others. They look for something that you're different. It could be the clothes you wear, it could be anything. And that was what he was trying to address with his club. He believed that if all the kids could join, they would become the majority, and they would have safety in their numbers. Maybe it would be, a number of gay students with a number of red-haired students with another group of freckles. If they all got together, then they're safe. Bullies aren't going to pick on them if they have their group together. And that was what his vision was. And talking to a lot of other kids before Jamie passed, because we had what we call an open door policy at home, and we have a pool in the backyard, so we tended to have large groups of kids around the house at any given time. And in talking with them while I was trying to put this together and since his passing, the overall message I get from all the young people is exactly what Jamie said, that it's only us adults that want to put labels on kids and on the activities they do. They just want to come together, they want to have fun, and in this case, he was trying to form something that would give them protection. If by calling this club a GSA means that this legislation has to go to court and it's delayed another year, we're losing, I understand the statistics are 2 kids a week to suicide in Ontario. I'm wondering how many of those kids in a year are related to bullying, and how many will we lose while this gets tied up in court. If we do this recommendation that I'm offering you, that you do not reference or make special any group, if you just say support for student-led initiatives, then I don't see this bill being challenged in court. I think there's good things in both bills that when they come together, it will be a very strong piece of legislation that, to my belief, the entire province can get behind, and thank you for protecting our children.
Just a point of order, sort of, Mr. Chair. I just want to say on behalf of the entire committee to extend our prayers and our love and our condolences to you and your family. What you've lived through is the worst nightmare that any parent can live through, and we just want you to know that your bravery and courage is noted, and that we have all parties on all sides this committee. Really wish you the best, and thank